Hey, welcome back to Morrison Heights Family Connect. This is the podcast of Morrison Heights Baptist Church. I'm Tim Peabody. The next in our series of missionary interviews for Great Commission Weekend is Becky DeWett. Becky, we're so glad to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be home.
Now, I saw you for the first time about a week and a half ago. You rolled up to the office, and you had just gotten here from Ukraine.
That's right, the night before. We had just flown in.
Well, we were relieved to see you and Nadia here safe.
Well, we appreciate the people praying us here to get us here, because we're definitely being prayed for.
We don't know many people in Ukraine. Pretty much just you and Nadia.
And Andre.
And Andre. And Andre's still there. Did his family get out?
At least his daughter and granddaughter for sure are out, but his wife is in a relatively safe place.
Well, good. Well, we're praying for Andre. We're thankful to have you and Nadia here.
Yeah.
What have y'all been doing since you got here?
Recuperating. Part of it, as true refugees, we came with nothing. Yeah. And part of it was just getting enough to survive our daily life. Shoes. We came with a pair of boots and a pair of Crocs, and neither of those are quite suitable for all of Mississippi all the time. Crocs are okay, but not all the time. So, we had to get shoes.
You brought a pair of shoes and a pair of Crocs.
Yeah, boots. We had boots on in the mountains, and we had Crocs to wear in the house. And that's all we had all the way from Ukraine to here.
And on the way out the door, you grabbed the NIV and had to settle for the NIV translation.
That's right, I did. Not even my best Bible, but I thought, well, what happens if I don't have internet?
Yep, so I grabbed it. And it's a thin one, easy to pack.
Yeah, that's exactly why I pulled it, because it's little.
What was it like leaving your house and saying, I wonder if I'll ever come back here? Is that what you thought?
Well, when we left our house, we were trying to convince ourselves that we were going to be back in a week. So we packed like we were going to the mountains for a week, and that we were going to come back. And I have to tell you, I haven't told many people this, but a life group here at Morrison Heights sent me 2 huge things of Pop-Tarts, my favorite thing, Pop-Tarts, and 2 huge things of grits. And I said, okay, I'm going to take one of them with me and leave one here for when we come back.
What did you choose?
I took one thing of Pop-Tarts and left one thing of Pop-Tarts.
Oh, okay.
One thing of grits and left one thing of grits, saying that I'll soon be back. I'll, leave these for when we get back. And so they're sitting, hopefully, maybe not, but they're sitting in my house, hopefully.
Do you have any way of getting information about whether your house is still intact?
We do. We have a lady that is going by 2 or 3 times a week, and going into the house, we left her key. And she and her husband go into the house. They walk around. Today, she wrote and said, we turned off all your heating because now it's warm enough. It was snowing when we left. Now it's warm enough to have the heat off. And one day she was going into the house and she said, Becky, I saw that you have a lot of pasta and rice and macaroni and cheese and tuna fish and stuff that people have sent you. Is it okay if we take it? And she said, because the stores don't have very much. And I said, take everything, take anything. You know where it is. And she said, well, we want to take it to the bomb shelter where we're hiding when the sirens go off, because other people don't have food.
So in Kyiv right now, your friends that live near you, they hear the bomb shelter or the siren, and they go to the bomb shelter.
Right, yeah. And it's pretty much a nightly thing.
Wow.
It's an every night thing. It's kind of sad, though, because some of them have gotten so used to the sirens. We have a really good friend that lives about 5 minutes from us. And one day we were talking to her on the phone, and she said, it's quiet. Something's wrong. Huh. So when the sirens aren't going off, it scares them now more than when the sirens are going off. It's just gotten to be part of their life, the sirens, and living in the bomb shelter. And this couple that checks our house happened to be in a bomb shelter with young families and young children. And so I said, you take everything that you can possibly take out of my house to that shelter. Absolutely. So I might not be going back to the Pop-Tarts. They might have gone to the bomb shelter.
They went to a good cause.
That's right.
We'll send you back with the Pop-Tarts.
I'm not worried about the Pop-Tarts.
What was it like making the trek to the border? It took you days in the car, right?
We had gone, it was about 10 hours, 12 hours to the Carpathian Mountains. So we had driven there thinking that we were in 2 hours of the Romanian border. And if things escalated, we didn't think it was going to. If things escalated, we could just jump the border. And as time went on, we ended up not staying a week. We stayed 2 weeks, and then at the very end, on the 24th, 24th to the 25th, when the invasion really started full-fledged, we had made the decision to leave. And it's a 2.5 hour drive to the border, and we thought we got it made. Ukraine was under curfew at that time. You couldn't do anything before 6 o'clock in the morning. 6:03, we were driving out the driveway. 6:05, we were on the road. And we making good time, got down to the road that goes to the border crossing, 8:30. And I thought, yes, we're doing great. And got down there and saw this huge line. And thought, okay, well, that's okay. We're early in the morning, we'll be through by tonight. And a kind man, we kind of motioned, I kind of indicate, hey, I'm a girl, I'm a woman, I have a woman with me, please let us in. And so he told us to go ahead and get in the line, and I let the other car that was with us get in front of me, and we started along and realized that we're not going anywhere. And then it got to be a little intense when we realized that we're not moving. Only later did I find out, because we had taken a side route through the mountains, that we came in halfway through the line. So had we actually been in the whole line...
If you got in the back of the line, you would have had twice as long to wait?
Yes. We know people that were in the line 5 and 6 days.
How long were you in that line?
We were in line 64 hours to go 6 miles.
Now, I've never spent 64 hours in the car with Nadia. But have you been to counseling since then?
No, but I think I need it. Thankfully, Nadia slept a lot during that time. But it was compounded because we also had our dog. So we had Nadia and the dog for 64 hours. And
how big a dog is this?
She's 14 pounds. She's a little
small
Maltese.
Dog. That's good.
Yeah. But it was very
cold,
intense.
So you can't
it was
just
cold.
Get out and walk around the car and stuff.
Well, you couldn't get out. I couldn't get out and walk around the car because the cars moved every few minutes.
You got to be in there to inch forward.
Right. Because if you didn't, the people behind you went crazy because you had left a gap of 1 foot. And they wanted you to close that gap up. Yeah, I had to explain to a guy one time, they're not letting us through by the length of the cars. They're letting us through by the car. So it doesn't matter how close I am. But he wanted me right up against the bumper of the car in front of me.
I've found that math does no good in a traffic argument.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And after, this was probably 36 hours in, he didn't care what I had to say. And so toward the very end, probably about hour 56, 57, I was still awake. I had been awake most of that time with a 5-minute nap here, 5-minute nap there. But I fell into probably a very deep sleep. And the next thing I know, somebody's beating on my window and it just jars me awake. And I have a car length in front of me, and they were very upset. So I didn't sleep after that. But but that was the only time I slept. But it was good. It was we were safe. We were in a car. We were warm. We watched hundreds and thousands of people walking by us, carrying everything possible that they could. Dogs and cats and food and, old grandmothers that could barely walk with bags on their back like, big suitcases, but they put them on their back because they couldn't carry them in just one hand. And, carrying everything they could to cross the border because they didn't know when they would be back. And, at least we were safe and warm in a car. And, it was God's provision. That car, by the way, neat story. 3 years ago, we bought the car. And when I came home and I said, Nadia, we need to get a new car. And she said, Becky, we don't have any money. I said, that's okay. I'm going to raise support for a new car. And so I said, what kind of car do you want? Let's dream. And I'm not going to dream about a car. We're not going to buy a new car. We don't have the money. And I said, no, let's dream about a car. And so I would talk about the cars and came to Morrison Heights. Probably the second Sunday I was home that summer, and somebody walked up and gave me a very large check, paid for 1/4 of the car. Wow. And at that point I turned to Nadia and said, you want to dream now? But one of the things I kept saying about this new car was, I need something that I can get in and drive across the country and get out of the country if I ever need to.
Wow.
That was 3 years ago. I never I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd really do that.
It did its job.
But when the time came, I jumped in the car and never had to even think. 64 hours in that line, I didn't have to think, is my car going to overheat? Do I have enough oil? Are my tires good? I had a brand new car. I serviced it at the car dealership. I knew it was in good condition, and God protected us.
Where's that car now?
That car now is parked in Transylvania, Romania. With
You
Dracula.
have really bad taste in places you flee to.
Yeah.
Now, I assume in the 90s, like me and every other evangelical, you read...
Dracula.
No, that too. But the Carpathian Mountains, if you read Left Behind,
Yes.
you would have never fled
Yes.
to the Carpathian
Yes.
Mountains.
But it's a good hiding place because there are no addresses there.
There are no addresses there?
No. We could not tell people where we were because there was no address. There was a village, and we could say the third house on the second road, but there was no address. So we were safe.
And then you crossed the border and went to Transylvania.
Across the mountains in Romania into Transylvania.
Was there like some wealthy count that was willing to put you up for a few days?
There was. God. God provided.
I trust him a lot
That's
more.
right. The neatest thing, they're both things are really neat. The provisions, all three in Romania, the provisions God made were great. The first one was we were on the border and we thought, okay, we have this contact in Georgina, Romania, which is about 6-7 hours from the border, and we thought there's no way we can make it. Even after 64 hours, we need a shower. If nothing else, a bathroom and a shower. Those are essentials. Then maybe we could have driven, but there was just no way. And I'd had no sleep for 3 days. And we had a friend here in the States who said, hey, my neighbor in Ukraine used to be from Romania. What if I contact her and see if she has any contacts? So a friend of ours contacted a friend who contacted a friend who contacted a friend, had a house 20 minutes over the border. She lives in Italy. She had an empty house. You can go to our house, meet the Orthodox priest of the village. He'll let you in, and you're welcome to stay there as long as you want. The ladies of the Orthodox Church had prepared a meal for us and were waiting for us. We got across the border, stopped somebody that spoke English and said, can you help us? And he talked to the lady to find out where the house was. And he looked at me and said, you can't find it. I'll take you. He got in his car and took us 20 minutes to the house. And then he drove back to his station at the border. Just God miraculously provided this house so that we got a good night's sleep and were able to get up the next morning and drive on in to be with Zsolt Novak, one of Morrison
We've heard
Heights,
his name
Michigan.
several times recently.
Yes. And he opened his doors. His church opened his doors. One of his church members owns a hotel, gave us free lodging for the week that we were there. They fed us more than we ever could imagine to be fed. They washed all of our dirty clothes because we'd been in the mountains for 2 weeks with dirty clothes. Washed all of our clothes. It was a godsend. And now my car is with this pastor, with Pastor Novak in Romania, waiting for us to come back.
Well, good. Good. Was it hard to actually cross the border? Did they grill you and try to prevent you from crossing? Or
It was very interesting because I'm a female, if you didn't figure that out. The car in front of us was male, and the car behind us, the driver was male. And you have to, on the Ukrainian side, you hand everything out the window. And they took it, looked at it, and they just kind of sent us through. They really didn't even question us. When I went through the Romanian side, you have to get out of your car and go and register everything in this little booth. And I walked up with all my papers on my dog has passports and health forms and my insurance
Your
for
dog
my
has a passport?
Yeah, my dog has a passport. And all my insurance that we had to buy to cross over into the European Union, my roommate's passport, my passport, my temporary residency card for Ukraine, every document I could possibly have I had in my hand, and I shoved them through the window, and he said, I don't want those. And I said, well, you need them. I mean, it's my dog. I have a dog. And he picked up Nadia's passport, and he looked at it, and he said, are you Nadia? And I said, no. And I said, I'm Becky. I'm the other passport. And he looked at it, and, okay, is Nadia in the car? And I said, yes. And he said, does the car belong to Nadia? And I said, yes. See you later.
That's it.
And I said, but wait, no. Here's the insurance for the car, and here's my dog's passport. He said, I don't care about any of that. just go. He said, I trust you. The car in front of me, they lifted the hood of the car. They checked the VIN number. They checked the VIN number inside. They grilled him for probably 10 minutes while I'm waiting. And then he got out and left. Me, it was just a couple of minutes and we were through. So the car behind me, they grilled. But
So you think it was easier for you because you're a woman?
I think it was. I think that, number one, he knew I wasn't trying to skip out of the country so I didn't have to serve in the Army.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So everyone from 18 to 60, males 18 to 60 couldn't leave the country.
Yeah.
So those people, because there were two males in front of me, they probably had to prove a lot more things than I did.
So Andre couldn't leave even if he wanted to?
No. The only men that can leave are if they have 3 or more children under the age of 18. They can get special provision to leave.
Really?
But Andre's kids are all older, so he's got 3 children, but they're older. So,
Well, we're so glad that you're here safe, and we get to spend some time with you. Are you giving people an estimate of how long you think you'll be here?
we have round trip tickets, July 15th.
Okay.
But everybody tells me we're extremely optimistic.
It may be optimistic.
But that will be our first point. At July 15th, that's when we need to reevaluate. My roommate, when we came through border control in America, was given until September. That would be probably our second point of reevaluation. If we still have to, if we're still here in September, hopefully we've already reevaluated and decided some things. Yeah. But it's kind of like we have these checkpoints that we'll decide then what we do. Right now we're just taking it day by day and letting God reveal His plan for us, which is a really hard thing for me because I plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and I don't care if A doesn't work, I still have plan F. Mm-hmm. But right now I can't make any plans. I can plan today, maybe. I can plan tomorrow, maybe. So we're just taking it one day at a time and seeing what God reveals.
The good thing about July 15th is that it's after our baseball game. Y'all came last summer.
That's right. We came last summer.
Braves
yes.
Game.
Yes.
We just this week put on the calendar July 9th.
Oh, okay.
So I expect you and Nadia to be there.
See,
again.
now we have another thing that we can say. We'll still be here July 9th for the baseball game.
Good. Yeah, that's a Saturday night. And
yeah.
Y'all had somebody else. You had a young lady with you last year.
We did. For several years when I first got to Ukraine, I've been there almost over 28 years now. Mm-hmm. I worked with an orphanage. And mostly with teenagers, and mostly with teenager girls, because that's just how it works. And that was one of my orphan children that had been adopted to America, who had graduated from college, and her parents gave her the trip to come down here to see me because we were in town. She actually, when she was adopted, she took my name as her middle name.
No kidding.
Yeah, most orphans, when they're adopted, will change their name because they don't want to identify with their past. Mm-hmm. And so she liked the name Emily, but she liked Rebecca, and so she said, my name's going to be Emily Rebecca. And her parents were good with that. And in fact, we're probably going to her wedding this summer.
No kidding.
So, yeah.
Well, bring her back to the baseball game. It'll be a tradition.
That's the week before the wedding.
Okay,
don't think she's going to come for that.
That's cool. Now, Nadia has been working since she got here.
She is.
I hear she's getting up at 3 a.m. and teaching school.
For right now, she's getting up at 3. She teaches an hour and a half, and then she dozes off and gets back up at 5 or 6 and teaches an hour and a half. In a couple of weeks, that's going to change, and it's going to be 2 and 5.
Oh.
So Ukraine's time doesn't change like ours changed. They
how
change
come you're
later.
Not having to get up in the middle of the night and
do
teach?
Get up. I just don't have to teach because I'm a principal. But I field emails from my teachers. They may be in the middle of the class and say, this is happening, what do I do? Or this child said this, what do I do? And so I've been fielding, it's not emails, but it's a chat that we have. Last night was the first night I slept through the night without answering any chats. And I got up and had 9 waiting for me. So, yeah, it's tough.
I can't imagine what you guys have been through and what you're still going through.
Yeah.
We're so glad you get to be here for a little while. We get to spend some time with you.
Yeah.
Catch up, and we're all praying for you.
And get to be here for the missions conference.
Yeah, missions weekend this weekend. This will air after the missions weekend, but we're interviewing, I don't know, as many as we can get in.
Yeah, while they're here.
This is the third one we've interviewed today.
Wow.
So we're looking forward to meeting a lot of people this weekend. We want to pray for you. Before we do, you have a verse you want to share?
I do. You know, I was thinking, it's hard for me to consider myself a refugee. But when you look at it, it's leaving the land, your land, and going to a land that is not your own. Well, this is kind of my land, but for 30 years, it's not been my land.
Well, we still claim you here.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of people claim it, but for me, this is really not home anymore. I don't have a house. I don't have a car. I don't have things here. All my things are in Ukraine. So I still fall under the refugee idea, but it's hard for me to look at myself because this is my homeland. But I am reminded time and time again that God has provided for me. I left everything behind. I didn't have, I just had a suitcase. Nadia and I shared a suitcase full of clothes, and that was it, with the dog as well. But one of the verses, and everybody knows these verses, but one of the verses that just keep coming to me again and again and again is in Matthew 6:19. It says, "Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust can destroy, and where thieves can break in and steal. But store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where thieves cannot break in and steal. For where your treasure is, that is where your heart will be also." And then it goes on, but in verse 25 it says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you're going to eat or what you're going to drink, or about your body or what you're going to wear. Is not life more important than food, and your body more important than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And are you not more valuable than they? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life?" That's what God keeps trying to tell me. There's nothing. I have already provided it. I am a sovereign God. I knew this time was going to happen before the foundation of the earth. I knew you were going to be in this position. Just rest in me. And I am going to provide. I am your provider. He provides through the hands of people, but he ultimately is the provider. And when I start worrying about, I left my dad's Bible in Ukraine. I left my mom's Christmas ornaments from when she was a child. I go back to this and says, don't store up those things. They're important to you here, but ultimately they're not important. It's more important that you store up your treasures in heaven.
Amen.
So.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Strong challenge to us. Let me pray for you and Nadia.
Right.
Lord, thank you for some time together with Becky and Nadia, and thank you for what you're doing in their lives. Thank you for delivering them from the tragedy and disaster in Kyiv. Pray for your blessing on those that remain, and pray for, especially for Andre and his family. Pray for your protection for them. Ask you, Lord, to bless the time that Becky and Nadia have while they're here. Bless their work as they try to continue serving their school and continue working their jobs in Ukraine. Pray that you'll encourage them, give them strength and endurance and peace through this time. Please continue to use our church in Ukraine and around the world to make disciples of Christ and to serve you in your kingdom. We thank you for your many blessings, especially for your mercy through Christ. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, Becky DeWett, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So glad you're here.
It was my pleasure to be here.
It was a great pleasure, and we look forward to many more weeks with you. We'll see you many times between now and the baseball game.
Hope so.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you for watching Morrison Heights Family Connect. We love our family.